Right, what do we think of that? Tipperary 225, Kilkenny 119. Welcome to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. Yeah, crazy game in Nolan Park. Bizarre, I think, is the word I used on the radio to describe it, but it has gone full time. And Tipperary have beaten Kilkenny 225 to 119. 4 red cards in the game. We're going to talk through all that. I'll give my thoughts on the red cards individually and the different performers for Tipperary and give my thoughts on Kilkenny as well. Bit of a different podcast this week. You won't be graced with my by seeing me. I don't have my equipment with me to record a video. I'm away from the house for a couple of days, so if you're watching on YouTube, there's no video, it's just audio this week, so I do apologize for that. I should have been a little bit better prepared, but I wasn't thinking. So I'm under a bit of time pressure as well. I'm just in the car here in one of the car parks in Kilkenny, and so we'll try and run down through the match as quickly as I can. But yeah, first of all, a brilliant win for Tipperary. Any day you beat Kilkenny in Nolan Park is big, and it's rare for Tip. We bet them in the league here in 2023, 2 years ago, but before that we'd lost 7 in a row against Kilkenny in the league in Nolan Park. So that was a big win for Tipperary, and it's kind of 1 foot into a league final. As I record, Clare and Cork are playing, and if Cork were to win that, if Clare were to win that game, then I think all Tip would be into a league final, barring a Limerick and Kilkenny draw and a few other results like that. But so that'll all be ironed out over the course of the next few days, and as you're probably listening to this, it's probably a bit more clear. So let's just get straight into it. 225 to 119. It was 213 to 110 at half time, and I thought it was a real kind of weird first half. There was a real kind of hush, I suppose, around Nolan Park. There was no great atmosphere. You were expecting the two teams to go flying into it because Kilkenny had to win to avoid kind of being put into a relegation battle on the final day, but we didn't see that at all in the first half. We did get a few goals before halftime. We'll talk you down through them, but I suppose if you're going to be talking about this game, and I'm sure all the articles that are being written and kind of online talk is going to be all about the red cards, because in the second half, 4 red cards in a 10-minute period. First one was for a Tipperary man. It was Alan Tynan, and I was on commentary for Tip FM with Ken Hogan. So we were at that stand right in front of it, really good view. And I said at the time, I was like, there's nothing in that, because Cian Kenny kind of went down, held his head, and then kind of popped back up to say, oh God, I hope no one, it was kind of like he was like holding his head because kind of play acting, but then kind of realised that, no, I'm actually grand, he didn't actually hit me, I'll get up here before, I embarrass myself. That's the vibe I got. Now, and he popped back up and ran on. So then when the red card was brandished, I was shocked. Looking at the replays back, it doesn't look to be too much in it. But I will say, before we talk about anything with the referee, and that is that so difficult, it's such a difficult job. When we were waiting for Liam Cowell to come out to get interviewed, myself and there was probably about a dozen other journalists there outside waiting for him to do the post-match interview, and we were watching it back in slow motion, and no one could definitively say there was no contact, or was it a glance, or so. Very hard for Sean Stack, the referee, to get that in full time. But in full time, I thought there wasn't much in it. Now, I'm obviously coming from a Tipperary point of view as well, so I'm aware of that bias, but that was just my general reaction to it. So I was very surprised when he got the red card. Liam Cahill, speaking after, just kind of said that he didn't see it back, but he's led to believe that there wasn't much in it. So that was the red card, and Tip were ahead by 5 or 6 points at that stage, but you felt like Kilkenny were still very much there, and it was kind of a strange time, and you felt that, as I mentioned, there was a bit of a lull in the game and a hush in the crowd. You felt they needed something to kind of ignite them, and that red card, you're like, oh no, here we go, Kilkenny have a right chance here. Then TJ took the free. I think that free go wide, or maybe he hit that one over the bar, and from the puck out, the ball went down. David Blanchfield won it. I'm not sure had he a free one, but he just swings around and letters Joe Caesar, I think it was, in the back of the head. Straight red card. And I don't think anyone can have any complaints about that. He was already booked anyway, so he was going to get his marching orders. He just swung around and just followed with a Hurley, stupid, head high, back of the head kind of job. Just dumb from David Blanchard, like a dumb thing to do. Silly, always going to see him get sent off after that, whether it was going to be a second yellow or a red. So then a couple of minutes later, over on the far side of the field, Mikey Carey wins a free. I think it was Dara McCarthy, and it could have been Joe Caesar again running for the ball, or possibly Jake Morris, yellow helmet Tipperary player. And Mikey Carey wins a free. and he stands up and just like kind of pushes Darren McCarthy into the face, push, punch. I'd have to see it back again, but contact to the head anyway, and Darren McCarthy went down. And Mikey Carey as well was already on a yellow. I think he might have got brandished a straight red card, but just a kind of a head loss moment from the Kilkenny player. So off he went. And then another red card, this time for Jordan Malloy. This one, I can't remember what he got his first yellow card for, but this was a second yellow he got. I didn't see it in live action because I was kind of following the ball and I didn't see it back. I haven't been able to see a replay yet, but Ken Hogan on co-commentary said that Jordan Malloy was just trying to hook Owen Connolly and probably just kind of clipped him on the ear, clipped him on the helmet, but it was kind of an attempt at a hook. So probably a harsh second yellow for Jordan Malloy, and he seemed to be fuming kind of when the referee showed him the second yellow. So that was probably an unlucky one, but they were down to 12 and tipped down to 14. So as I said, the first half was kind of played at a real weird kind of training-like pace. The goals gave it a bit of life towards the end of the first half, but you were expecting a real fiery battle in the second half. Now, you probably got that for the few minutes there was the red cards, but then it just turned into, Kilkenny could only really commit men to the half forward line, really. They couldn't push anyone up to the full forward line. It was TJ Reid on his own there, doing well, winning ball, but he was just completely isolated and outnumbered. So Tipperary, in fairness, were able to play it well, as you'd expect kind of any inter-county team to be able to use that, 2 extra men and with all the space around the place. So Tip kind of pushed on to victory then. What was it? The second half was what? 12 points to Tip, 9 points for Kilkenny. Very strange, bizarre game, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast. So that's kind of a recap of how the game played out. The goals for Tipperary in the first half. Craig Morgan, you can probably hear the tunes playing. I have the window slightly down here, and because it's absolutely roasting here in Kilkenny, and there's a lad in a van here blaring tunes in front of me. So this is a different podcast than usual. I'm usually a bit more professional than this if you're just tuning in for the first time. But Tipperary's goals, Gerard O'Connor played a kind of a line ball down the line. Craig Morgan was kind of pushed up into a wing forward, corner forward position, let it kind of go past him, got it into his possession, took on his man, and from an acute angle put it into the back of the net. Haven't seen it back. It's one that in real time I was like, oh, Owen Murphy will probably be disappointed that that's gone in from that angle, but I'd have to see it back in terms of, was it a right good strike from Craig or what? But Craig has been really good in midfield so far this season, and we've seen him make them runs. He's kind of set up 1 or 2 goals. He set up that goal against Cork that Dylan Walsh got where he broke through off the puck out, and he's been given that lease to just go and make those runs. So he made that run, got that goal, really good goal. The second goal then was so good from Darren McCarthy. Kind of won the ball 2-on-2 in the full forward line, turned Tommy Walsh and just took him on, just bet him, got in around him, and then it was 2-on-1. Hand passed it across the edge of the 14 to Oisin O'Donoghue, and he got his shot, got the ball into his hands, and his shot his way so quick that I didn't even see it. It was in the back of the net because I was worried one of the Kilkenny defenders was coming across to try and block him down, that I was like, there's no way he's going to be able to get a shot off here, but he somehow got it right into the top corner, and a really good finish from Oisin O'Donoghue. Just turned 19 there at the end of January. So an incredible kind of rise from Oisin O'Donoghue this year and over the last couple of years, and a brilliant for him. His first start to get a goal against Kilkenny in Nolan Park. He was taken off at half time. Liam Cahill confirmed after that it was a knock, so that's why he was gone off. So hope it doesn't seem to be anything too serious, but fair play to Oisin O'Donoghue. And he didn't look like a young fella out there nervous or anything like that, so fair play to him. Those were the goals. The Kilkenny goal came, it was Billy Ryan who got on the inside of Brian O'Mara and took it on, created the 2v1, hand passed it across to Gerard Dunn, and he put it low past Barry Hogan. So that was the goals in the game. But overall, Tipperary you felt they were the much better team, and then the kind of messy second half, red cards, hard to read too much into that. You can't take too much from that, I suppose. But overall, brilliant win for Tipperary. I'll run you down through the players and how I thought they all individually performed and things like that. And as I said, this is probably going to be a shorter podcast because I'm under time pressure here, sitting in the car baking away here in Kilkenny. So Barry Hogan in goals. another really good game, I thought, for Barry Hogan. He made a really big, important save on a Mossy Keown shot. And again, you might have been watching on telly, you probably would have seen replays and all that. So I was obviously working and commentating on the game, so I'm just going off what I saw in real time. But Mossy Keown broke in behind. I'm such a big fan of Mossy Keown, and he's so direct, and it looked dangerous. And he was in one-on-one, got a shot away, and just bravery from Barry Hogan, got his body in the way of it, deflected it out for a 65. His puck outs, some of his puck outs were really good. He made one kind of long one in the second half for Jake Morris into space, and Jake fired it wide, but it was a real nice kind of move. But his puck outs in the first half, I've mentioned it in the podcast before during the club season, how Kilkenny often do puck outs where they'll find space right in between the two 65s, someone coming short for it in that part of the field, whether it be Paul Flynn or Alan Flynn for Kildangan or whoever, but Barry's able to kind of drill it head height between the two 65s. We saw that 2 or 3 times in that first half. Jake Morris, Alan Tyne and Grode O'Connor all kind of got on them. So those are kind of worked puck outs, and it's all about the execution of the strike from Barry Hogan, and he's probably in the best form he's ever been in for Tipperary. He's making good saves, his puck outs are there. So that's great to see. Full back line, Robert Doyle had a great battle with Grode Dunn. There was one stage in the first half where three balls went in and in a row, and Robert Doyle came out with 3 of them. So he done really well. I'm kind of fast forwarding through this. Owen Connolly, I thought, was strong at the back. Brian O'Mara got a really good score in the first half. Had a few wayward passes, particularly when I suppose the game went more loose and things like that. And Billy Ryan did get inside him for the goal, but yeah, remember I was saying the last podcast, maybe pushing him out the field would be a little bit better because he has that ball striking ability and things like that. But he took his point really well, and it was a better performance from Brian O'Mara. The half-back line then, Sam O'Farrell, his second appearance for the Tipperary Senior Hurlers in a competitive game, and he just done so well. 3 points from play, got a 4th shot off that just kind of narrowly went wide. He was up and down the field. He didn't really play wing back, really. He was kind of more midfield and even further forward at times. But really good stuff from Sam O'Farrell. Such a young player. Just, I'm not sure if he's turned 20 yet, but he's under 20 this year, so he might still just be 19. And he just looks, to have solidified himself in this Tipperary starting team, I would think, going forward. Ronan Maher, 2 points from play. Centre back, captained the team really well, just continues his good form, and such an important player for Tipperary. The real centre point of that defence and real strong part of the defence is Ronan Maher, and shipped a real heavy shoulder from TJ Reid in the first half, but it just popped up back off the ground. It was kind of in from behind. He wouldn't have seen it coming, but he's just a real strong built fella, so no bother to him at all. Michael Breen, really loving the kind of man marking roles he's been on. Yellow carded at one stage, but I've mentioned he's one of Tipperary's players of the year so far. He's been so good in all the games, and hasn't really been putting a foot wrong at all. So really good for Michael Breen yet again. And he's one of 6 players that have started every game for Tipperary so far this year in the league. Himself, Owen Connolly, Craig Morgan, Jake Morris, Alan Tynan and Darren McCarthy. So 6 Tipperary players have started every league game so far. In midfield, Craig Morgan, as I mentioned, thought he'd done really well for the goal, and pretty good all-round play as well from Craig Morgan. So he's had a really good campaign and really flourishing in the midfield role. Suits him much better than in a corner back. Joe Caesar, done well, got a really nice score, and it's funny. It's just it kind of feels like he's been there for years. Like he's just doing everything right, doing nothing too flashy. Took his score when it came to him, and done well. Half forward line then was Grode O'Connor. It was another kind of workman-like performance from Grode, getting his body about the field, getting involved in rucks. Nothing from him in play. He had one chance where it was when it was kind of the numbers were reduced in the second half, where he broke through and he was there for a hand pass if Willie Connors could get it to him, but Willie Connors popped it over the bar himself. But more to come from Grode, but happy that he's just getting through all these games, and plenty for him to offer come championship, no doubt. Jake Morris as well, mentioned he hit that ball wide. Not as influential as in other games, but as Ken Hogan said on commentary as well, nice to have the different names involved, or the different scores, and you don't want to be relying on the same lads. I think that might be Jake's first scoreless game this year, because I can actually tell you for sure, I have the notes in front of me. Yeah, he scored 3 points against Galway, 2 against Wexford, 4 against Limerick, and 1 against Cork. So that's his first game without a score this year. Is Jake Morris. Alan Tynan got a point from play. Was his usual combative self, and unfortunately it saw him get a red card. And as I mentioned, be interesting to see now, what your reaction is, what the listener's reaction is to it. I thought it was kind of harsh in real time, and seeing it back again, as I mentioned, tough for referee Sean Stack, but I'm not sure if that was a red card for Alan Tynan. Darren McCarthy, 12 points, 11 from 11 on frees, I think he was. Like, that is just unbelievable shooting. It's so important as well to have a good free taker. He set up the goal for Oisin O'Donoghue, as I mentioned. He got a scandalous point from play out in the sideline on the 21, and just continuing his good form. What has he got now? 244 in this league campaign so far for Tipperary. You'd forget he's only 19 as well. Like, it's incredible. So fair play to Darren McCarthy, and long may that continue. John McGrath, as we were mentioning on commentary before the game, it was going to be a big game for John McGrath. I think it was a year since his last start. That's according to Stephen Barry anyway in the Irish Examiner when I was talking to him. A year since John McGrath's last start for Tipperary. That was against Limerick last year in the league. So I thought he'd done really well. He got 2 points. He kind of missed a gimme that John McGrath would be getting 9 times out of 10 in the... Was that the second half? No, that was the first half, yeah, where he hit it wide. But it was a couple of times he held the ball up really well and one dirty ball back, and I think Liam Cow will be happy with how John McGrath performed out there today. And then Oisin O'Donoghue, as I mentioned, took that goal so well, the catch and snapshot into the top corner. Really good stuff from Oisin O'Donoghue, and delighted to see him doing so well. So let's run down through the subs that come on. Willie Connors come on and got a good point. Noel McGrath come on and got 2 points. The last one was just pure Noel McGrath class, like out on the sideline, threw it up when it looked like he could have been blocked, and just over the top of the defender's hurley, over the bar. Just a classy player is Noel McGrath. Seamus Kennedy come on late on for a few minutes. Always good to see Seamus getting game time back on the field after his injury last year. Dylan Walsh come on and got a goal, but was pulled back for over carrying. Probably was steps, to be fair. I thought that in real time when he was shooting. I was like, oh, he's taking a lot of steps. But always good to see how direct he is and how willing he is to just want to get goals. They're always my favourite type of players. I mentioned Mossy Keown just being direct, and I love that style of hurling. Bonner Maher, a different style of hurler than Dylan Walsh, but that directness of just wanting to get the ball and put the head down. So Dylan Walsh done fairly well. Andy Ormond, I thought, done really well when he came on. Any ball that came near him, he seemed to be winning it. Didn't get any scores or anything like that, but he has improved an awful lot, I think, in the last kind of 12, 18 months. And if he can continue this trajectory, I think he's a lot to offer this Tipperary team. Like, he won that ball. It was actually Andy Ormond, wasn't it, who got hit in the back of the head by David Blanchfield, but he won that ball and done really well. So happy with how Andy Ormond has performed. From a Kilkenny point of view, then, again, it's such a weird game to try and analyse. TJ Reid nailed all the frees bar one. Garrod Dunn got 1-1. But after that, David Blanchfield got a point. Mossy Keown got 4 points and could have got that goal, as I mentioned as well. But they're missing Owen Cody, Adrian Mullen, Hugh Lawler didn't play. So they have lads to come back, do Kilkenny. So they will have to be careful now, because depending on how this Clare-Cork game goes, if Clare were to beat Cork, and then Clare beat Tipperary on the last day, and if Kilkenny were to be bet by Limerick on the last day, then Kilkenny could be relegated. So that'll all play out in due course, but not the result Kilkenny would have wanted. But the red cards is, it's going to be hard to win any game with 12 men, but they were being, Tip were on top before those cards, but that kind of situation is never going to help when you're trying to come back into a game. But that's it for Tipperary. I've been speaking in kind of 1.5x speed, I feel, in this podcast, because I just want to get it recorded as quick as I can before I melt inside in this car. But next up for Tipperary is on the 22nd of March at home to Clare, 7:30 Saturday night game. Hopefully a nice crowd, good crowd there in Thurles. The All-Ireland champions coming to Semple Stadium to play Tipperary, and we might know by then anyway if Tip are going to be into a league final for sure or not, but it certainly looks like they've 1 foot into a league final as things stand. So 5 games for Tip in the league so far, 4 wins, and you are going to hear the talk of, and Liam Cahill mentioned as much as well in his post-match, the talk of you know, this is springtime and Liam Cowell's teams can't do it in summer, but as he said, you know, you have to prepare teams in the springtime to do it in the summer, and that's all he's trying to do now. So you can hear the doors close. I'm going to call it at that, and we will talk to you in the next couple of weeks. 225 for Tipperary, 119 for Kilkenny. Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, subscribe and like the channel, and on Spotify as well, a good rating is always welcome. So that's a bit of a fast forward podcast for today, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time after the Tip Clare game. Bye for now.